PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PCN, local stories from the South Shore. This week we bring you two stories from libraries that are making some great physical changes and upgrades.
PCN meets a young yoga instructor in Pembroke who has some historic new digs, and we say goodbye to a long-standing Plymouth employee.
We stop into a wonderful jazz night at a local Italian restaurant. We introduce you to Tommy, a big, loving cat who needs a forever home, and Town Administrator Ed Thorne from Pembroke will be on our set.
It's going to be a great show, and we start things off with some changes in leaderships for two of Plymouth's important museums. Plymouth is full of historic institutions that offer culture and educational opportunities. Two Plymouth institutions, the Plymouth Antiquarian Society and Pilgrim Hall Museum, have recently had changes in their leadership. Though both of these women are new to their new roles, they may be a little familiar to you. PCN met up with the two to talk more about their new jobs.
I've been with the Plymouth Antiquarian Society for 16 years, taking care of these magnificent historic houses and the collections that the organization has gathered over almost a century. And now it's time to hand the torch to somebody new. And we're so fortunate to have Anne Riley, Plymouth-born, with a marvelous education, her PhD from the University of Delaware. And she has studied actually the history of commemorations here in Plymouth back in the early 20th century. So I think she's going to be very well prepared for our 400th year coming up.
I love Plymouth, and it really is a dream come true to be back here since I grew up here and I have many family roots here. So it definitely feels like home, and it's very exciting to be coming back to Plymouth, especially with 2020 on the horizon. So it's a great time to be thinking about collaborating with other historic organizations and other museums in town, and just really exciting to think about all the people who will be visiting and the chance to present our history to them. One thing that's very exciting is that the Plymouth Antiquarian Society Centennial 100th anniversary is in 2019. So we will be commemorating 100 years of our organization on the eve of celebrating 400 years of the Plymouth community. So I think that there's a lot that we can bring to the community to talk about preserving local history for those centuries.
There's so many individual historical organizations here in Plymouth, and one of the things that I've tried to do in my time here at the Antiquarian Society is to reach out and work with other organizations. And I think we've made a lot of progress in that area. So I'm looking forward, as I move around the corner, to having a closer working relationship with Pilgrim Hall Museum and the Antiquarian Society, as well as all of the other fine institutions we have in this community. It's really important that we all work together. With 2020 coming up, we want to share our history as effectively as possible. And that happens most effectively, I think, when we bring our resources together in a collaborative way. It's a tremendous honor to be the executive director of such a distinguished institution as Pilgrim Hall Museum, that is the oldest continuously operated museum in the country. And so one of my goals as the new director coming in is to make certain every family in Plymouth walks through these doors. It's a treasure in our own backyard. And sometimes we forget to visit the things that are important right under our noses, but there's so much rich tradition and history here that I think we need to make certain that people in Plymouth have their fair share of it. So it's free to Plymouth residents. We want to open those doors wide up and encourage people to come and see the treasures that we have right here in our own town.
The Kingston Library is in need of a lot of work and upgrading. With planning well underway, architects held a public meeting this month to let the community know some of the proposed designs and plans. PCN was there to bring you some highlights.
This is the second of two forums we're holding for the public today, and it's to inform people about the library building project, and almost as important, to hear what people have to say, what their questions are, and what their concerns are. One of the biggest needs that any library has these days is space for people. We have lots of people who come here to study, come here to work on projects, come here for meetings, and we just don't have enough space for them. One of the needs that we have is for a quiet study space or quiet meeting space, and we just don't have that. So one of the things we're really looking for the new building to provide is that kind of space for people. Another huge issue for us is teen space. We have a very, very small teen room, which is not a place where teens feel welcome. There's really no place to sit down. The room's not big enough to hold all the teen books and DVDs and all of the things in the teen collection. So we want a place for where kids will feel welcome. The library has been working with various committees for about 3.5 years on gathering data, analyzing what the community needs, what library usage is like, what library trends are. The reason we're bringing the proposal forward right now is that, first of all, we have a grant from the state to plan what the new library ought to be for Kingston. And the conclusion of this phase of the project will be for us to bring that to town meeting and request permission to apply for a construction grant. So that's the second phase. The construction grant is a state grant, and it will pay approximately 50% of the construction costs of the new library.
Like all building projects, it takes a long time. We were engaged more recently to help them with the actual planning, but even before we got engaged, they had a library program consultant help them determine the space needs for them, develop a new program for an expanded library. We are working on a feasibility study, which will take us up to this grant application in January. It takes about 6 months for the state to review those applications, and awards will happen then in the summer of 2017. It takes about a year of design from that point, and then about another 12 to 14 months of construction. So it means that a new building probably wouldn't start construction until 2019, opening in 2020. So it's a long process. We're at the very beginning of that, and there will be plenty of opportunity along the way for input from the community.
Brian, the Kingston Library, like a lot of other towns, are going through a whole analysis of what their library is going to look like in 5 or 10 years. So aside from doing the whole architecture and needing a new footprint, they also have to think about how are people going to receive their information? Are books going to even be around?
I think they are.
I think they are too.
I hope they are, but yeah, I think there'll be fewer out there. But no, I mean, it would be nice to see the Kingston Library get a slight upgrade, maybe expand their footprint or go up or whatever it is that they're going to do.
Right.
It'll be nice.
Good luck to them.
Good luck to them indeed. Another library on the South Shore is going through some changes as well. It's the Duxbury Library that's got some interesting plans for its entrance. The Reading Garden entrance project will transform the western entrance and outdoor space, giving it a pleasant and welcoming feel. PCN stopped in to learn more about the plans.
The Reading Garden Entrance Committee was formed because it became very evident to a number of us who both work here at the library and love the library that it was time to transform a very bleak area of the library grounds into a more welcoming, accessible place. The Reading Garden Entrance Committee was formed over 2 years ago, and there are people on the committee that are friends of the library, staff members, trustees, and a couple of folks who I think, really just love the library. We got together, we worked very hard at establishing a vision for the project, which involves not just transforming the grounds, but also the entrance to the library. And we've made great progress since then. We've decided right from the beginning that this project was going to be privately funded, though we have had great support from the municipal leaders. So what we're hoping is for a clean, open area that people can come to, enjoy, sit, read a book, work on their computers if they want. We're going to have a quieter reading nook area, so if for instance Nancy Denman or anyone from the children's group want to take a bunch of kids down and read outside, they can go in there. And then walking into the main entrance down there, right now it feels more like a basement, and what we want to turn that into is just a more welcoming environment, with more direction. Right now you walk in and there's lots of doors, you're not really sure how to get upstairs, so we're going to change lighting, we're going to change colors and flooring, all to be more directional towards the stairs to bring you up to the main floor of the library. We're incorporating artistic elements, so you can kind of think not just garden, not just entrance, but also sort of park. There's going to be sculptures. Each bench is going to be an individual work of art. Interestingly enough, this project coincides with the development of the campus. There's also a new traffic configuration on the campus side, and very, very limited parking for the library on that side of the campus. So this project will also help us and help the community to reestablish that area of the grounds and that entrance of the library to be the main entrance that it actually was intended when this building was renovated and opened in 1997.
Yoga is popular for many reasons: stretching, strength, and peacefulness. Yoga is also beneficial for every age, and PCN met up with a young instructor in Pembroke who agrees on yoga's agelessness.
My name is Christopher Bopp, yoga teacher, business owner. I started learning some postures from my dad. He started a hot yoga practice and would teach me some of the poses. There was a part about the practice, though, that seemed very innate inside of me. I ended up doing several different trainings, and so what I found that I really like is offering different classes and different styles. Each practice has something that you can benefit by, not only alone in the practice, but then also it will complement all the other styles in some way. I decided to become a teacher kind of as what felt like a natural next step. Really loving the yoga practices that I was doing, and then wanting to teach that to other people and have that, part of my full-time life and be immersed in the subject. And also being able to teach yoga is benefiting other people. Well, the Hexagon House is next door, and this is part of the property. And the whole space just seems like a really nice area to have a yoga studio. Behind here is a nature preserve, but it's right on Route 53, so it's easy access on Route 53 to Route 3 or other routes. But yet it has this feel with the nature preserve, with a farm around the area, of sort of almost like a retreat place, if you're coming out of the city. I'm originally from Pembroke, and I used to have a studio in Quincy, so some people that actually went there, I've seen them down at the studio here. Turned out it was a little bit closer, actually. So I am familiar with the Pembroke area, and I feel welcome.
After 22 years and several titles held at the Plymouth Public Library, Dinah O'Brien is calling it a career. The Director of Community Resources had her retirement party at the library, and just about everyone was there, including PCN.
For me, the event is important because I've known Dinah for the entire 22 years that she's been at the library. I met Dinah first through the Rotary Club in Plymouth. We sat on the Rotary team, I guess, together for 15 years. And then Dinah knew that I had left my former position and was looking for a job, and she said, hey, there's an opening here at the corporation. So I am forever indebted to Dinah, and really sad that she has decided to retire and leave us all behind. Unless, of course, we win the Powerball tonight. then we will all be joining her in the retirement, right?
Okay, so it turns out that Dinah and I both started on the same day, August 3rd, 1993. And she began as the library director. She has brought the library through the budget process for years and years, has made us a strong library in the community, brought new technology to the library, self-checkouts. She's supported the staff in all sorts of wonderful training.
I've been with the town of Plymouth, was with the town of Plymouth for 22 years, 22 and a half. I started out as the library director, and then I became director of community resources, and have thoroughly enjoyed it. The library's been a great thing. I had the privilege of working with the Council on Aging, Veteran Services, the school department, constructing Plymouth North and the new senior center, and just being a really, hopefully valued member of the Plymouth community.
Dinah is an extraordinary woman, businesswoman, and just all-around human being. She's really a great person. And she's been very important to the library and to the town of Plymouth because she's got a wonderfully collaborative way of thinking. And she's just always, I think, thinking about the library and its place in the community and the town of Plymouth in general. And she does a lot of traveling outside of Plymouth, and so she's been bringing our good name there. So she's done a great job, and she will be missed.
I'm seeing, my colleagues, the department heads, the town manager. It's lovely to see the state reps here. My family is here with both of my children, all 5 of my grandchildren, and a lot of great nieces and nephews, good friends that I've made in the town, and it's just a nice evening, very nice evening.
Good for Dinah. She's been a great friend of PACTV's, and 22 years is great. And due to the turnout that she got at that party, you'd say she's pretty popular.
Oh, most definitely. It was everybody, so many faces there. The people that I see all the time when I go on a lot of our shoots were all there. So it was pretty cool. And anytime you're at any job for that amount of time, 22 years, you're obviously doing something right.
Yep.
So good for her.
Congratulations to her. You might think that going to see great jazz involves a long drive to Boston or New York City, but world-class musicians might be right under your nose in downtown Plymouth. Tuesday nights, Martini's has been hosting what has become a serious jazz scene, featuring talented musicians that have even toured the country with artists like Peter Frampton. PCN stopped in on a chilly Tuesday night to meet Kenny Wenzel, jazz band leader, to learn a little bit more about the band and listen to a few tunes while we were there.
Well, every Tuesday we have a band, a jazz band, and it's mostly, most of the Tuesdays, maybe a little more than half of them are the same band. We call them the Martini All-Stars. It's going good. This is our 5th year. We started, I was hiring guys from week to week, and then all of a sudden it just kept on going. So we've been very fortunate, And the food is good too, that helps. We have Gene Romer on drums, and he's been on the road with just about everybody. He was with Woody for a while, and Woody Herman. And I was with Woody Herman for a while, and he played some show in China for 6 months. I know he's been all over the world playing. And then we have Peter Katrinas on bass, who I've known for years too. He owns a recording studio, and a lot of records have been made at his place, popular ones, and a lot of different people record there. And then the piano player is Chris Taylor, but he is one. He's about my favorite piano player. He is something else, man. I'm so proud to have this band playing with me, And they're a lot of fun. They're good guys. It's just a happy band. We seem to make some nice music. It feels good every time I play with them. What can I say? I'm proud of them. Jazz is a scary word to a lot of people. But if you say blues, they'll go, oh yeah. No. But the thing to look for is how the band plays together. Does it sound good to you? Use your own ear. Look at, everybody's ear is as good as mine. I mean, I can hear more, of course, because that's what I do. But listen, what your opinion is of what the music means a lot to anybody that's got any brains, what you think of the music. And I wish they'd give jazz a chance, but it's tough. You're almost, not to say jazz is snobby, but you got to know a little about music. Or I think you'll get more out of it if you know a little about music. But the common people, there's a lot of people that just groove on the band and like jazz, and it's very diversified. But I've been playing jazz for probably 60 years, say, 60 years. And I think it's almost a form of meditation, because I got into meditation. I said, I'm almost meditating when I'm playing. I'm only thinking of what I'm playing and nothing else, nothing else. Jazz is something. It's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun for me, and you know, when you have fun, you meet a lot of people.
That was fun.
Our pet adoption spotlight brings us to the Kingston Collection and the Friends of the Plymouth Pound to meet a new friend.
Hi, I'm Gail Fitzpatrick, and I'm here at the Friends of the Plymouth Pound Adoption Center at the Kingston Collection to spotlight Tommy on PCN's Pet Spotlight this week. Tommy is a beautiful boy. He's about 6 years old. He was actually left without an owner when his previous owner passed away. So we've brought him in to try to find him a new forever home. He's a great cat. He does seem to get along with just about every other cat here, and we would love him to go home for the new year. If you're interested in Tommy, we have applications here at the Adoption Center. We also have them online. So please consider adopting an older pet.
This week's Town Talk brings Pembroke's Town Administrator Ed Thorne to our set. Welcome once again, Ed.
Julie, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you, sir. Today we're going to talk about a number of items to do with Pembroke, starting with the town meeting, which is now moved from April to May.
Yeah, at the recommendation of the Department of Revenue, we pushed it back about a week to get closer to the start of the fiscal year. So we're going to move it from the last Tuesday in April to the first Tuesday in May. So I think that's May the 3rd.
Tuesday, May 3rd.
Yeah, we'll be opening the warrant on February 22nd, and it'll stay open for about 2 to 3 weeks, in which we'll invite the various organizations to submit any articles that they need. Basically, we'll be looking at an FY17 budget and probably some articles that will deal with community preservation projects. So that seems to be the two that we're going to be looking at.
Okay, great. The budget basically was done in the fall. I mean, the big items were done in our fall meeting.
Yeah, the capital items actually are out of the way right now.
So the spring meeting's a lot easier.
Well, you know, relatively speaking. I mean, I think what happens is that what we do is we find out how much money we had left over at the end of the previous fiscal year.
Right.
And then we take some of that money and we spend it on capital items like we did in the fall. We bought a bunch of stuff for the DPW especially, and they got a bunch of new equipment, which is great. And then, you know, the game plan is usually for me to put together a townwide budget that I'll present to the advisory committee the 1st of February, and then we'll work on that for the February and March before town meeting.
Okay, great. Snow removal, talk about that. Last year was a nightmare. Hopefully this year won't be.
Well, it was kind of interesting that the 2 winters were so different in that one big storm, which was Nemeth 2-3 years ago, was very wet, and that was where the power outages occurred. Last year we had 100 inches of snow, but it was all light, fluffy stuff, and we didn't have any power outages. So this past Tuesday, we had a dress rehearsal with the emergency management team to look at the upcoming storm and to go over some of the emergency shelter facilities that we have, including the library, where we just installed a brand new generator on Monday, and that will allow us to have that as our main emergency shelter for any storms.
So the library in Pembroke Center.
Yeah, the two facilities that we have in Pembroke Center are the Council on Aging, which is a warming center, and also the library. We found out that the library was a lot better fit for a shelter as opposed to a gymnasium like at Hobbamock Elementary. And also the fact that the center of town actually gets power before any other part of town.
Exactly.
So, and the fact that it's in close proximity to the fire department and the police department. So it worked out, that was a good thing that we learned about 3 years ago.
That's excellent. And the last thing about the new website, just talk
Yeah,
for our last minute, talk about the new website.
We're real excited about that. We rolled out the website about a week or so ago, and we worked out an arrangement with Virtual Town Hall. We had them about 10 years ago, and then we went in-house for the longest time, and then we found out that Virtual Town Hall really offered us a great deal, and we're real excited about it. And at the suggestion of some of the guys in the gym, we now have a town administrator's corner in which I'll have all kinds of little facts.
So like a blog?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Little factoids about that. And if you go on the website right now, there talks about facts about snow removal and the cost of what it takes to remove all the snow in one go-round through the 100 miles of town.
Oh, and people don't have any idea.
Right. It's
Because
pretty interesting information that we're
I
going
saw
to have
that
out
once, and
there.
I was fascinated with how you guys manage that. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, if we're just sanding, we use about 14 trucks.
Right.
If we're plowing, we're up to 44 trucks.
Yeah, what a difference,
We use
yeah.
over 30 private contractors as well.
Okay, so lots of information at the website, lots of information from you, as always, and people won't bother you at the gym anymore because they're going to read your blog.
Yep,
Yay.
absolutely. No, they got great ideas. So.
Okay, I know they do. Okay. Thanks for watching this week's show. Replay times and links are at PACTV.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for links and updates. We'll see you next week for more local stories from PACTV Community News.